Today, we're going to talk about something really important in parenting. A big idea that's all about shifting our focus away from just external success, the grades and the trophies, to something deeper, internal strength. Let's get right into it.
All right, let's just jump in with a pretty provocative question. In a world that is just obsessed with achievement, are we maybe accidentally teaching our kids the wrong lessons for actual survival? I mean, is all this focus on being world smart or clever actually making them weaker?
Now, if you're a parent, I'm sure this is going to sound familiar. You feel this immense pressure, right? There's this constant flood of advice from everywhere about how to raise successful kids, and maybe even more so, how to help them avoid failure at all costs. It's just exhausting.
So what do? We spend so much of our energy trying to build this, protective shield around our kids. We warn them about every single pitfall, every possible disappointment, all in the hope that we can protect them from the tough stuff in the world. But here's the thing. The truth is, you can't. And this quote really just nails it. Life itself is the ultimate teacher. And no matter how hard we try to soften those blows, life's lessons are gonna come. So the real point, the truly crucial part, isn't about stopping the challenges from happening. It's about preparing our kids on the inside to be able to handle them when they do.
And you see, this whole focus on protection can lead us straight into a pretty big trap. And that's the overemphasis on what we might call cleverness. We think that teaching our kids to be super competitive, to grab every opportunity, that's the key to survival. But what if that whole foundation is way more fragile than we realize?
Just look at the difference here. It's pretty stark. A world built on cleverness measures your worth by what you gain, what you win, and that can lead to feeling really isolated and ultimately empty. But a world built on values, well, that's totally different. It measures worth by your character. It's all about building connections, about having integrity. It's really the difference between a life based on transactions and a life filled with actual meaning.
So when we put cleverness first, we can end up creating what the source material here calls a fragile belief system. And what that means is, it's a way of seeing the world that is completely dependent on what's happening on the outside. Winning, achieving, getting ahead of the next person. So what happens when that external success disappears? And it always does at some point. Well, your whole sense of who you are can just collapse. And that leaves behind a really profound emptiness.
And here's the real kicker, the big unintended consequence. When we're constantly telling our kids that the world is a selfish, dog-eat-dog place, we think we're protecting them. But what if we're actually just training them to become part of that very same selfish world? What if we're accidentally helping to create a world where everyone feels hollow and disconnected?
Okay, so if cleverness isn't the answer, then what is? Well, the solution, it turns out, lies in building a foundation on something way more timeless, way more durable. And that is core human values. So let's take a look at what these are. All right, let's really dig into these 5 pillars because this is really the heart of it. First up, we've got hope. That's the simple belief that tomorrow can be better. How do you teach that? Well, instead of a bad grade being a failure, you reframe it. It's now a roadmap for what to study next. See, that's hope. Second, hustle. This is just pure grit, that determination to keep going. You build this by praising the effort they put into soccer practice, not just the one goal they scored. Next is honesty, having the guts to be true to yourself and others. And they learn this when they see you admit you made a mistake instead of trying to make an excuse. Number 4 is trust. This is the foundation for, everything. You build it by keeping your promises to them, whether they're big or small. And finally, number 5, kindness. This is active compassion. They learn this when they watch you treat a stressed out cashier with patience. You're showing them empathy in real time. These aren't just abstract ideas, They're like muscles that you help them build day by day.
And what's the whole point of this? It's about building an internal compass, a true north. Because when you nurture these values early on, they become that guiding light for them. So down the road, when life gets messy and the lines get all blurry, your kid will have something inside them to help figure out not just what's clever, but what's right.
So, okay, setting up this foundation of values, that is step 1, and it's absolutely critical. But what comes next? Well, the next stage is all about turning those internal values into real-world external action.
Which leads to the big question, right? It's one thing to know about things like honesty and kindness, but how does a kid actually learn to live those values out there in a world that can be really, really challenging?
And the answer is, it's powerful and maybe a little intimidating for all of us parents. It's not about the lectures we give. It's about the life we live. Kids absorb these lessons by watching us. They see how we handle fairness, how we show courage, how we treat ourselves with respect. So you can really see how this foundation builds outward, right?
Once that value system is in place, and they see you living it, kids start to pick up these incredibly important life skills. They learn how to ask for what is right. They figure out how to take care of themselves without hurting other people. And this is so important. They learn how to stand up for the truth and for themselves with dignity, not with arrogance.
In all of this, everything we've talked about, it leads to a total reframing of what the ultimate goal of parenting really is.
Here's the big takeaway. Maybe the goal was never about creating a successful person who knows how to game the system. Maybe the real, deep work of parenting is about raising a resilient soul, someone who can face the world and life itself without breaking.
And this quote just gets right to the emotional heart of it. The whole point is to raise kids who, even in this huge competitive world, don't feel lonely or hollow inside. They feel a sense of wholeness, of belonging, which is the exact opposite of that emptiness you get from only chasing after what other people think.
Think about this for a second. Being clever, yeah, it'll open doors for you. It'll get you opportunities. No one's denying that. But it's goodness, that deep well of character, of values, that's what actually sustains you through the long haul, through an entire life.
So let's leave it with this final thought. Cleverness builds a resume. It's a list of your achievements. But a life is something so much more. It's built on connection, on integrity, on resilience. So the real question for all of us is, what are we actually helping our children build?